practicing in a group setting or at home as part of your personal practice, pay special attention to hip opening asanas. They're critical to your practice for several reasons. So even if you space out during the rest of a class, train yourself to wake up and tune back in when the focus moves to the hips. The hip joints are adjacent to Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine, and some of the hip opening movements don't just increase mobility, they also passively stimulate the Muladhara. So it's important to stay alert to any sensations you may receive. The hip joint is a ball and socket joint, and it's the largest joint in the body. So because of its size and the fact that the muscles surrounding it do a ton of work all day long to move and stabilize our bodies in space, the hips store a lot of energy. That means they can take quite a while to open up, and that some of that stored energy is emotional. Over the lifespan of your yoga practice, any stuck emotional energy will need to be processed and cleared at some point or another. So you may find yourself going through periods when the hips are especially stiff, or conversely, especially loose. Whenever I complete a period of intense emotional processing or healing, there's a short window in which my hips will feel both particularly open and particularly unstable. It's as though the muscles surrounding the joint have to relearn how to stabilize me. That's because I've lost some of the emotional tension that was previously holding me in place. In addition, some people have anatomical differences that mean that their hips are more or less open, and that's why some people achieve splits easily and others never will. Usually the only way to know if your hips have some sort of structural impediment is to see an orthopedist. So err on the side of caution and always be gentle with your hips from a mechanical perspective. Nobody wants a hip replacement. Meanwhile, do use visualization and breath to help them relax more deeply into opening over time. Open hips are critical for sitting comfortably for meditation, which, as we'll discuss in Module 3, is the heart of your yoga practice. I recommend doing at least 3 of the following hip openers every day to keep the hips supple, plus any additional ones that you enjoy. You should always practice them after sun salutations, but before you sit for pranayama and/or meditation. So let's start with hip rotations. These are beneficial not just for loosening up the hip joint, but also for creating better mobility. That's the increased range of motion we can create and sustain at will with the muscles, not just by exerting some kind of external force on the body. So Milena, go ahead and move on to all fours. From all fours, we'll start on the right side. Lift your bent knee away from the center line, just like that, and start to make little circles with the knees. And you want to gradually make those circles larger and larger until you're starting to go through your full range of motion. Now go ahead and reverse, go the other way a couple of times. So really open up that hip socket. And then you can transition these into tiger kicks by kicking that heel up behind you, up toward the sky, and then drawing the knee into your nose, making a little cat back. Kick it up 3 to 5 times. 3 to 5 tiger kicks will do. And then when you're done with those, just come back to all fours. Our next hip opener is Baddha Konasana. So we're going to do this with special attention to the external rotation in the legs. You can start from a comfortable seated position and then extend your legs outward in a V. All the way out. There you go. They don't have to go very wide, but just so that you can get them free of each other. And then you want to rotate, start with the right foot and rotate the feet out, and then draw one heel in toward the perineum. And then rotate the other leg out. So, yeah, exactly. And then draw that in. So now you've got the feet pressed together, and you can scoot them in a little closer as is comfortable to you. Take the hands inside the feet, thumbs inside, hands outside, fingers outside, thumbs inside, like that. Yeah. And then put your thumbs inside, and you want to just kind of peel the feet open like you're opening a book. Just like that. Now sit up nice and tall. Very good. Lift up through the crown of the head. Excellent. And keep the shoulders relaxed. Now this could be enough for you right here, or you can lengthen a little more in the spine and begin to bend forward toward the feet. If your anatomy allows, you can use your elbows to create a little pressure on the knees to open up the hips even further. And then you want to breathe comfortably here, but deeply and smoothly. 30 seconds to a minute of this will do. And go ahead and sit back up to a tall spine. Interlace the fingers for butterfly. So we'll interlace the fingers and take them around the toes like so. So the feet are pressed flat together, just like this. Yeah. So you've got all the toes covered. So notice that you're making a connection here. This is another mudra. This is another completion of a circuit that's helping to channel energy around the body in a particular way. Sit up again with the tall spine. So you want to rock back a little bit more towards me. Right there you go. And then once you've found your position, relax the shoulders and begin to flap the knees very gently up and down like you're flapping the wings of a butterfly. You want to go through your full range of motion, so if they come a little higher, yeah, just like that. Not too vigorously, very gently. Just a butterfly wafting on the wind. You'll want to do this one for 2 minutes. Beautiful. Another excellent hip opener is rock the baby or Shishupalasana. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot over to the left. I'll sit next to you and demonstrate this. So we start from a seated, easy posture here. And we're going to start on the right leg. So you pick up the right foot and place it in the crook of the left arm, or left elbow. And then the right arm comes around the outside of the right knee. And if you can, go ahead and interlace the fingers and draw that foot in closer to the shoulder. If you can't interlace the fingers, you can just hold the leg in whichever way works best for you. But eventually you want to work up to being able to interlace the fingers and make that connection so that the energy is flowing in a circle all the way up through the shoulders and wrapping around the leg. Then once we're here, rock onto the sit bones in case you're leaning back. Sit up nice and tall. Keep the head facing forward. The head does not move. And you're going to simply rock side to side like this, just like you're rocking a baby, very gently. You don't want to kind of whip side to side. You do want to rock as far as you can in each direction, so all the way through your range of motion while keeping the head stable. And you'll do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. When that's complete, you simply switch to the other leg. Left foot goes inside the crook of the right elbow. Left arm comes around the outside of the left knee. Interlace the fingers if you're able. Sit nice and tall and rock. Feel free to close your eyes while you're doing this one and bring your attention to Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine. In men, that's in the perineum. In women, it's closer to the cervix. And be very attentive to any sensations you may notice. This can sometimes feel like you're stirring the Muladhara, stirring that Kundalini energy, just like you're mixing a pot. You can feel a sense of expansion, a little bit of pressure, sometimes even a little sense of arousal. And if you notice anything like that, it means that you're doing it right. That bottom leg, if this is uncomfortable, can be extended forward. 2 to 3 minutes each side. Next, the pigeons. Pigeons are awesome, and there are numerous variations on this. I'm going to show you 3 today. Go ahead and start from down dog. We'll do the traditional pigeon first. So you want to find your down dog. Go ahead and wiggle out pedal out the heels and the legs a couple of times to get into that. And then drawing, yep, just like that. So to enter pigeon, go ahead and raise the right leg up behind you to three-legged dog. And then on the exhale, draw the knee toward the right hand, right knee toward the right hand, and then cross the ankle over toward the left hand. Exactly. Lower down, and then you walk the toes of that left foot back behind you. First, sit up straight, bring the hands back alongside the hips, show a nice proud pigeon breast. And then you fold forward, and you can just rest the head on the back of your stacked palms, just like that. You can also use a block underneath the forehead if this is a lot for you. So this is a traditional pigeon, but you'll notice that because the body weight is on the hip, there's a lot of pressure going on here, which is why I'm going to show you the other two variations. Traditional pigeon, of course, puts quite a lot of pressure on the knees. So I'm going to show you this alternative version that's a lot gentler. Feel free to take this one. It's just as effective for opening the hips without as much weight on the knee. We start from down dog again, and I'm going to show you this one on the left side so that you can see one of the details better from the camera angle. You'll need a block for this one. If you don't have a block, you can go ahead and use a big thick dictionary or something similar. So from down dog, you're going to take your block and put it halfway between the left foot and the left hand. Then you're going to bend the knees, come to a squatty down dog. Just bend the knees first, yeah. And cross your left ankle over the right knee, in front of the right knee, just like that. And you come forward. Now the left knee is coming down onto the block. The left foot, we keep the toes tucked under to get some traction, and then the right knee comes down behind the left ankle. Now check that your shoulders are still stacked over the hands. Excellent. And then we're going to reach back through the left sit bone and drop the belly down like you're doing cow. Don't push back. Stay with the shoulders over the hands. Now drop your belly down like you're doing cow. Yeah. And then you reach back through this hip, this sit bone. Drop the belly down again. You should feel a nice stretch in the outside of the left hip here. Good. So keep the belly down the way it is, just like you're doing cow. You can even look up a little bit to accentuate that curve in the back. If this is enough for you, you can stay here. You can also come down onto the elbows if you want to go a little bit deeper. Perfect. And that's alternative pigeon. When you're ready to come out, after a minute and a half, 2 minutes, come back up onto the hands, and then just step back to your down dog. And you simply move the block to the other side and go in the other way. Our final version of pigeon is reclining pigeon, which happens on your back. So you can go ahead and find your way onto your back. And we'll do this one right leg first. So draw the right knee up and then cross the ankle over. Keep that ankle flexed to protect the knee, and then you draw the left thigh in toward the heart. Interlace your fingers between the calf and the thigh, yeah. And then if it's available to you, if your joints line up the right way, you can use a little pressure from the right elbow to help open out that knee a little bit more. And the final option here, if you want to intensify, is to extend the bottom leg straight up toward the sky, and you keep this ankle flexed as well. Nice. And of course you'll do both sides, say 2 minutes. Both ankles flexed, option to extend the lower leg. Very nice. Next we have malasana or yoga squat. You may also hear it called garland pose in class. And for that let's start from a standing position. And take the feet a little bit more than shoulder width apart. Turn the toes out. And then inhale, sweep the arms high, bring the palms together overhead, and you're going to sit down into your yoga squat. So Muladhara is reaching down toward the ground. You're rooting down in your imagination anyway, since we're not actually touching the floor, but you're rooting down through the sit bones and feel a lift through the crown of the head and the heart. Shoulders stay nice and relaxed. And this is a nice deep stretch in the hips. Hold this one for 5 to 10 breaths. You can hold it longer if you like. When you're ready to come out, place the hands on the mat and extend the knees. And then you can roll back up to standing, bring the feet together. Malasana, 2 to 3 minutes. So our final hip opener, this is a really super deep one. So if it's not accessible to you at the moment, then save this for later when you've sort of exhausted all your other options and you really want to go deeper. This one's called Bakasana, frog. So you can see we've moved the mat for this one, and that's because when you do frog, you want it to be on a surface that's a little bit more slippery than, say, concrete or certain kinds of wood. And the reason for that will become clear in a moment. This is a great one to do after you've done your asanas, so your hips are already pretty open and you just want to go deeper. It's a deep release in the hips, and we'll start at the back of our mat. I've got 2 folded hand towels here. You can use a cushion or something similar, you know, a shirt that's folded up, but just something to cushion the knees. So you start from the knees and put one knee on each of these cushions. I've got one on the mat and one just off the mat on the floor. Then we have the ankles externally rotated, so the toes are pointing out and away from each other. We've got 90-degree angles everywhere, so the ankles are at 90 degrees, the knees are at 90 degrees, and hips are at 90 degrees. The knees are coming straight out from the hips and they're in line. So first we'll come down onto the elbows, and this may be enough for you right here. As you're able and you want to go deeper, this hand towel or cushion that's on the slicker surface can begin to move outward a little bit more, and you can kind of sink the hips closer to the mat. If you want to go deeper in the torso, you can go ahead and walk the hands forward and begin to bring the heart and the sternum down closer to the mat, just like that. Now you can stay in this one for a long time, even 3 to 5 minutes. And you may notice that because you're getting such a deep release in the hips in this one, all kinds of images maybe come up or emotional reactions coming through. It doesn't really matter where that's coming from, but just know that, as we've said before, there's a lot of emotional energy that can be stuck in the hip sockets. And so in a deep release like this, some of that stuff will come up to the surface. It's just letting you know that it's there, it's passing through. You don't have to engage with it. 3 to 5 minutes in frog. Now to come out, you'll start to walk the hands forward even more and let the hips come forward with your torso until your belly comes all the way down onto the ground. Just like that. Gently, and then you can bring the legs back together and then roll over onto your back and maybe take a savasana, or you can push back up to a seat or whatever comes next in your routine.